boo. Boo, 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 boo. Okay. Boo, boo. Do your outro. Boo, boo, doo, 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 doo. What?
Put this closer to you.
Why?
Because all I can think about is I'm Marion Coatsworth. Hey. That's all I can think about. And I can't stop giggling on that. Right. So, poor Thomas, you're going to have to watch this show tonight with me.
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay.
Get out.
Okay,
Go.
I'm
Take
good,
your
I'm
stuff.
good,
No,
I'm good,
get
I'm
out.
good, I'm
Like,
good.
get out. Seriously, get out. Just all the way out.
Yeah, I'm going.
Get
I'm
out.
going.
Get out. Get out. What do I have to press when this is done? Just stop?
Call me back. Just
Okay.
call me back.
Okay. You need to go somewhere. I can hear you through the microphone and through the ear, whatever these things are. I can go outside. I can hear you laughing still.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of From Art to Atoms.
The Ultimate Curiosity Show.
I'm Brandon Shoemaker,
I'm Michael Foles.
and this week we are diving into a topic that we really haven't talked about yet.
No, we've been trying to stay away from this one.
Yeah,
This topic because it's so...
well, not this topic. Well, because our topic really is one of our favorite TV shows. That's really what it is.
Yes.
But given the fact that this is coming out on election week, one of our favorite shows that we share in common is a show called The West Wing.
Yes. West Wing is celebrating, 25 years this year?
From their start.
Premiere, yeah. 1999.
And it's really cool too, because it lasted for 7 seasons, so it's been off the air for 18 years now, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it still has a lot of staying power because it's still, very much frequently quoted and cited, and people still talk about it.
I think it's quoted by us a lot, maybe.
Well, I mean, beyond just us. That's true. We do quote it a lot. But
I'm Marion Coatsworth. Hey.
That's going to set me off on a giggle fit.
The key. The Francis Scott Key Award.
It's a key. But yeah, it was incredibly well written. It was created, and most of the episodes were written by Aaron Sorkin,
Mm-hmm.
who had previously done Sports Night.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. And then he followed up The West Wing with The Newsroom with Jeff Daniels, which was equally great in its writing and its banter. And he is masterful at monologues.
Mm-hmm.
He comes up with these great monologues that, especially, if it's of some sort of like political significance, you wish that presidential speechwriters wrote like Aaron Sorkin.
Yes.
Because they just have the power to really grab your attention and keep your attention and not bore you to tears. There's so many different pieces of episodes from The West Wing where, the president in the TV show is Martin Sheen. He plays President Jed Bartlett, and he'll do this monologue that's just incredible. And it's, a speech given in front of, the nation or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, gosh, where are our speakers like that today?
I mean, it is so good that you want him to run for president.
Yeah. You kind of leave the show wishing that there could actually be a Jed Bartlett running for president.
So a little bit of background on it. So did you watch it when it was first on?
I saw a couple of episodes,
it was 97, right?
No, 99.
99. Okay.
It started in 99. I did not watch it when it first aired. My aunt and uncle, Vicky and Dennis, watched it.
Mm-hmm.
I think pretty much from the beginning all the way through the end.
Yeah.
And so I would catch pieces of episodes whenever they were watching, but I didn't really start watching it until, was it in the last season when you and I first started watching it?
Yeah. See, so that was the
Yeah.
problem, is that in '99 I was a freshman in college, and there wasn't a regular TV schedule for watching TV, I guess, so we didn't watch it weekly.
Yeah.
And the problem with The West Wing is that if you missed one episode,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you didn't know what was going on the next week. It's one of those things where you really have to pay attention, because the writing on it is so specific that if you miss one line,
Yeah.
like, you are looking at a plot line whole for the next 4 episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's,
You know?
it's the kind of show where you can't multitask when
Nope.
watching it. You
Nope.
have to put the phone down. You have to be tuned in and paying attention. Otherwise, you will miss something. And 10 minutes later, you're going to be asking whoever you're watching with, and going, "Wait, what? What happened? Where'd that come from?"
Yep. And then you're going to get the snide remark, "Oh, put your phone down and pay attention."
Exactly.
That's what I would say. Because I
Me
know
too.
who would say that. What would happen? Who would say
that? Who would say what?
What would happen? Not pay
Oh.
attention to it. Who would say that in my household?
The only other person in your household.
Yes, Thomas would.
It's okay. He doesn't listen to this anyway.
Yeah, we did find that out, by the way. It was last week. We found out
Or week
that
before
my
last, something
husband
like that.
Thomas
Yeah.
does not listen to any of these episodes, so we can badmouth him all we want now.
I'll leave that to you.
But really fast, looking at, so I guess, because one of my favorite films from the 90s was The American President.
yes.
And Sorkin was the screenwriter for that. Rob Reiner
Yeah.
was the director. And it's weird because Michael Douglas played the president.
Yeah.
But
Martin Sheen
played
played
his chief
his
of
chief
staff.
of staff. Yeah.
And so there's a lot of kind of, not similarities, but a lot of,
There's similar themes through
yes.
both the movie and the TV show.
there's a lot of people that were in The American President that were also in The West Wing.
Yeah.
So like,
Did you hear the story of exactly how the West Wing came about?
no.
So I just read it last night, and I was going to talk about this towards the end of the podcast, but it's relevant now. So, two of the stars of the show, Melissa Fitzgerald and Mary McCormick, wrote a book titled "What's Next,"
And that book just came out just recently, like in the past
just
2
the
months
last
or a month, I guess.
Yeah, last couple months. And it's basically, the subtitle is A Backstage Pass to the West Wing. Its cast and crew and its enduring legacy of service. And in the foreword that Aaron Sorkin wrote, he tells the story of exactly how the show came about.
Mhm.
But basically, he was told that this executive from NBC wanted to have a lunch meeting with him. His agent told him.
Mhm.
And he told his agent, "Well, I don't have anything ready to pitch for TV. I'm not doing TV. I don't know anything about it." And his agent said, No. He just wants to say hi. That's all. And that night, I forget who it was that he had dinner or drinks with or whatever, but it was some friend of his, and who was also I think he might have been another producer or director of The West Wing at some point, but he was in Aaron Sorkin's home office, and the poster for The American President was on the wall.
Mhm.
And the friend looked at Sorkin and said, "You know what would make a great TV show?" And he pointed to the poster and he said, "That."
Mhm.
And he basically said, just a story about all the people who work in the West Wing and what goes on. So next day, Aaron Sorkin goes to lunch with the NBC executives, and he says, very quickly, it occurred to me that this was not just a hello kind of a lunch.
Yeah.
He had, all the other major NBC execs with him, and they wanted to hear ideas from Sorkin on coming up with a TV show.
Yeah.
And so literally, since the only thing that was fresh on his mind was what his friend had said the night before,
Mhm.
he pitched The West Wing to them with a very, less than an elevator pitch even. He just basically said, I'd like to do a show about the people who work in the West Wing of the White House.
Yeah.
And they greenlit it from that. So the impetus of the show just coming from that alone is pretty special, that it was kind of a serendipitous sort of a thing.
Yeah. And part also, when you said he wanted the show to be about the people of the White House or the West Wing.
Right.
And you and I both know this, is that
Yeah.
the president was not meant to be a central character in the show. It's meant to be his staff.
Right.
And the show is meant to be around them. And you can see that in the very first episode, where basically Martin Sheen does not come in for the entire episode until the last 5 minutes, if
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I don't even think it's
You
the
don't
full
even
5 minutes.
see the president at all until the last 5 minutes.
No.
And so I wonder where the I guess the role shifted.
Quite honestly, I think it, and I feel like I remember hearing this at some point in some interview or something like that. I think it was just the power of Martin Sheen's acting.
His performance.
Yeah, his performance was just so powerful as the president. They quickly realized this is going to kind of help hold the show together and make it more popular. So they started writing the president in more of the shows.
I'm reading about all the people that were borrowed from the American president that have reappeared in the West Wing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So Martin Sheen did. And Nancy McNally, she was the press secretary in the American president.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Which was played by, Anna Deavere Smith.
Yeah.
I absolutely love her as an actress, and even she's an acting teacher as well. She's got a great book on acting.
Joshua Molina was in it also. He was Annette Bening's partner.
That's at the lobbying firm.
Yep.
Yeah. I need to go back and watch that.
He was hardly in it at all, but he was still in there.
Yeah. And he came into the West Wing late in season 3.
Yeah. At the end of season 3, when they basically Rob Lowe wanted more money and they were like, no.
Yeah. They wrote off Rob Lowe and they brought Joshua Molina in to sort of fill that space.
Yep.
But that's another thing that this book talks about. And like I said, I've literally only read the foreword, the introduction, and the note from the authors. I haven't even gotten into the actual text of the book yet. But one of the things that they talk about in there is how the show was all about service. And the cast really embraced that spirit and wanted to sort of pay it forward in a sense,
right?
To do that in the real world and not just in the world of the show. And so you had lots. Well, and another thing that I've even before this book came out that I've always heard was that the cast really became this really close, intense family. And generally speaking, whenever you're doing theater or any kind of long-term commitment acting wise, you do sort of develop into a little family, but most of the time those families fizzle out after the show closes or the TV show ends,
or even
whatever.
A few years after. They might stay strong the first 3 years after. But
so we just said 18 years later, when Mary McCormick and Melissa Fitzgerald were interviewed about the book, they were talking about how they still have a current text group with all of the cast members of the West Wing, and that they are constantly keeping in touch, and they still get together for events and things. I mean, not special events, but like birthdays and things like that.
Yeah, well, they recently got together when Jill Biden invited them over to the White House to celebrate the 25th anniversary.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
They were at the White House. And so,
oh wait, yes, I did.
Yeah,
yes, I did. That's right, because he gave a speech,
and he went right back into the character of the President
Bartlet,
right there on the fly. So, and I think that plays a lot into the show's character development. Also, is that these actors, they really were these characters.
Well, yeah, and when you're doing something like a TV show that lasts for years, you have more of an opportunity to really invest in the characters, and you kind of become it's not like method acting, because I'm very anti method acting as a theater teacher anyway, but you get to really inhabit the character long term, and so you just have it's kind of a treat as an actor to be able to play with a character for so long, because you do get to settle into it really well and get comfortable with it.
I think even more of a treat is coming back to the character and revisiting it all these years later.
Oh, they had to love it.
And that's like Star Trek Next Generation. And I will say that for most of the Star Trek cast, there's a family relationship, but that Next Gen cast is very much same thing there. We're 30 years next year that it ended. Yeah. No, it ended in 94. So we're 30 years this year. 30 years this year, and they did 3 or 4 films after that. But they, coming back together, have still remained so close as a group, as an ensemble, basically.
Well, so. And I follow Will Wheaton on Facebook, and he posted just, I want to say maybe a week ago, of a picture of him and LeVar Burton and maybe Jonathan Frakes at a Comic-Con or something.
Yeah.
And he was talking about just like old times and you know, things like that. So that's you know, it does happen for some, but you know, like I said, people have lives and they go on and they do other things, and you know, certain friendships last and some don't. But you know, this show seems to have held everybody together for a long time. But I want to go back for just a second to the concept of service that the show really embraced. And that was even, you know, they put their money where their mouth is, basically, when it comes to that. Because even back during the 2020 election, you know, I know you watched it, the Hartsfield Landing.
Yep, they did a live performance on stage.
Yeah. So there was an episode from the show called Hartsfield's Landing where it was all about the election and going out and voting. And so it was the perfect sort of thematic thing for a voter drive. And so they did that for a
special, I guess, or a fundraiser maybe, or something.
Yeah, it was a fun, not necessarily a fundraiser, but a voter drive for an organization called When We All Vote, which was founded by Michelle Obama and Lin-Manuel Miranda. And so they came together and did this to sort of help inspire people to go out and vote.
To energize.
Yeah, to energize the electorate. Yeah, because there are a lot of folks who do get to election day and they think, well, I'm just one out of however many, you know, my vote doesn't matter. Yeah. And, you know, it really does.
Yeah.
And the episode of Hartsfield's Landing did a good job of...
Well, that special episode, they did that one live, I believe.
Yes.
And they did it on a stage. So it was not with a set or anything.
Set.
It
no,
was basically...
It was
bare
unit
minimum,
set.
yeah.
It was desks and bookshelves,
Yeah.
and that was it. And then you even saw the back wall of the stage, which was
and you also
pretty
saw
cool.
the seats from the audience,
Yeah.
like from the stage viewpoint.
Yeah,
You could see that. So it was very innovative, I guess, in that terms of the production of it too.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, that's the thing, because speaking of Lin-Manuel Miranda, who was one of the founders of that organization, you know, Hamilton has for years now been a very popular musical because it has sort of taught a lot of younger generation Americans about, it taught them a civics lesson about the formation of the country. It's taught them about, you know, the life of Hamilton and all the figures who surrounded him. But really, before Hamilton, the West Wing kind of did the same thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think we both can speak from personal experience that it did that for us as well. I had always been interested in politics, but I really didn't know a whole lot about it. I knew that I needed to vote. And I voted in every election that I was eligible to after I turned 18. But I think, you know, I didn't fully understand all the inner workings of American politics. And I still don't. I am still very much a novice when it comes to American politics. And I that's something that I want to learn more about. That's the book that I'm reading right now, not the West Wing book, but another one, is just all about how our democracy works and what doesn't work about it and how we can fix those things that don't work about it. So, you know, the West, in terms of like, you know, creating a public civics lesson in a way that's very entertaining and palatable, more so than sitting in a lecture hall and receiving all this information from a professor or a teacher or whatever, you know, it really did do a good job of teaching America about how our government works.
Yeah.
I distinctly remember an episode where I think it was Joshua Molina who breaks it down, but essentially breaks down how tax brackets work in America.
Was this on his, because he does a West Wing podcast?
No, I'm talking about on the show.
Oh yeah, when they were trying to explain it to CJ.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they would do that. They would have characters in the show who would be like, I don't understand how this works. And they would explain it in very simple terms, which also for the audience who doesn't know how tax brackets work, you know, it explained it for us too. And after I watched that episode, I was like, oh my gosh, okay, I understand taxation now and how it works. Anyway, I say all that to say, yes, Hamilton is great. And I mean, it's just a great musical. Anyway, I know it's not your cup of tea, but
it is not my cup of tea.
But, I enjoy it. But long before it did its thing of teaching, this great civics lesson to the public, The West Wing was doing the same thing before that.
Okay, so let's get into the meat and potatoes of this episode.
Yeah, so basically what we wanted to do was to pick our top 3 favorite episodes.
Yes, so we've challenged each other to go ahead and get our top 3 episodes.
And I will say I am never one that is eager to meet the challenge of picking out my favorite anything. I'm always... I like a lot of things, and this is the case for most everything in life. If somebody asks, what's your favorite fill in the blank? I'm going to have trouble answering that question because I like so many things of any given category. So even episodes of The West Wing, I'm like, oh my God, there are so many that are great. I don't know what my favorite one is, let alone my top three. I was able to come up with a top 3 though. So I have that.
Even if it's not a top 3, favorite episodes, because mine are not going to be ranked 1, 2, 3. I think you said you were going to rank yours as 1, 2, 3.
I kind of did do that.
I just picked out 3 of my favorite episodes, so I don't have a favorite.
Yeah,
because there are a lot to choose from.
Yeah.
Okay, so who wants to go first?
You can go first.
Okay. Okay, so my first one is a season 2 episode.
Okay.
It is the 9th episode of season 2. Called Galileo.
Is that the one where Josh looks at the stars with the telescope?
Yes.
Yes.
And also where, so NASA, in this episode, they are sending a probe to NASA, to Mars, or not to NASA, but to Mars. And they are going to set up a live link from when the probe lands on Mars for the first time ever, what the camera sees. And the president and NASA officials are going to basically take questions from school children throughout that. So that's the premise of the episode, but there's a lot of stuff going on in the background too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of political...
There's always multiple storylines happening at the same time.
And the Galileo portion of it is, I think, one of my favorite parts because it shines a brighter light on it.
Yeah.
So what happens basically is that in the first part of the episode, when they are doing their practice run, and Bartlett goes in there and she's like, no one likes to know it all.
Yeah.
Because they do like a practice Q&A.
Yeah.
And she tells him to not answer the questions, even if he knows the answer to the questions.
Yeah.
Let the NASA officials answer those questions.
Yeah.
So she goes on and says something to the effect of basically no one likes to know it all because he said something about the temperature being a certain range.
Yeah.
And she said, that's incorrect. And he goes, no, I didn't. I calculated the Celsius in my head. So that was one of them. But the part I think of this episode that I like the best was when they were doing the writing of it.
Mm-hmm.
And the very beginning part where he tells CJ, you're not saying it right.
Yeah.
Like to say Galileo, is it Galileo 5, I believe, should be awe-inspiring. And he keeps on telling her that she's saying it wrong. She's not inspiring at all when she says it.
Yeah.
And then they give Rob Lowe's character as a speechwriter, they let him take a stab at it, and he does one off the fly.
Yeah.
And at the very end of when he says what he says, and he says Galileo 5, and he hits CJ and goes, he said it right. And so that was one of my favorite parts in that episode. But the other part is that, so they've set this thing up to where the kids are going to be basically seeing, the live, what they see on it as far as live screen, or like not live screens, live screening of the view of it,
Yeah.
And something happens to the probe itself. And so they have basically these scientists from NASA, the president, and all these kids, and they can't have their, I guess, what they expected.
Yeah.
And so, and this is a quote from CJ's character.
Yeah.
Because they were going to call it off.
Yeah.
The press conference off. And she says, we have at our disposal a captive audience of school children. Some of them don't go to the blackboard or raise their hand because they think they're going to be wrong. I think you should say to these kids, you think you get it wrong sometimes? You should come down here and see how the big boys do it. I think you should tell them that you haven't given up hope and that it may turn up, but in the meantime, you want NASA to put its best people in a room and you want them to start building Galileo 6. Some of them will laugh and most of them won't care, but for some, they might honestly see that it's all about going to the blackboard and raising your hand. And that is the broader theme.
Mm.
And so for me as a teacher,
yeah,
we both know that and it always happens with technology too.
Yeah.
The best laid plans always tend to fail.
Yeah.
And you need to be able to think on the fly and jump on the fly and turn that into a learning moment. And I think that really kind of symbolizes what that was for them.
Yeah.
So, all right, that's my first one, Galileo.
And I'll say my favorite part of that episode is probably I think it's at the very end where Josh and the girl are in the, so that, he says, wait, I thought you were going to show me the stars. Why are we out here in the middle of nowhere with this dinky little telescope?
Yeah.
And she says, no, you need to experience it firsthand, like thousands of elementary children are this very same night. Giving him that, it kind of almost makes me choke up because it's such a humble moment that, no, she's not taking him to, this multi-million-dollar telescope that's, in a facility or anything. She's giving him, the firsthand experience of seeing the stars and the planets, through a telescope in your backyard. And that really spoke to me. All right. So I kind of did mine in order of 3, 2, 1 top favorites, but that's ask me today, ask me tomorrow. I might have a completely different list that none of these are on. So take it with a grain of salt. So the number 3 in my countdown, if you will, comes from season 7, the final season, and it's episode 7, and it's one of the first episodes that we ever watched that I know of, and it's the debate.
Okay.
The debate was a live episode where they had the characters of Matt Santos, who's running for president as a Democrat, and Arnold Vinnick, who is running for president as a Republican. And they had them do, obviously a scripted live debate, just like you see
on TV in a real presidential debate. And
it was, I remember seeing a behind the scenes documentary about it. And, the director was like, it's really kind of a totally different challenge for me because, I'm having to call, okay, go to camera 1, go to camera 2. And, normally they're just setting up separate shots independent of one another.
Yep. And then going to edit it later on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, doing it live was a totally different ballgame that required a totally different approach. And so, the thing that really captivated me about that episode and was one of the reasons why I wanted to keep watching the show was because I thought that was such an innovative approach because, I remember saying at the time when we were watching it, I said, how much, I wonder how many more people tune in to watch this debate than
as opposed to the real thing.
They watch the real thing. Yeah. And it kind of,
at least this one was classy.
Yeah, that's true. Of course, that was back when most debates were classy, or at least classier than what they've become now. But, the thing that got me about that was that, yes, it was one of the early things that inspired me to keep watching the show, but I couldn't help but wonder, is this maybe helping to inspire other people to start following politics more?
Yeah.
Because it certainly did for me. And it was interesting. It was innovative. And it was something that, drove home the point of, our elections matter, our politics matter. And, if you live in this country, you need to be aware of it simply because it's something that affects you. Even if you are tired of the politics and you're tired of the back and forth arguing and things like that, which I think we all are.
Yeah. Especially now.
Yeah. It's crucial though to be aware and to, educate yourself so that you are taking part in the machine of government that has such a big effect on all of us who live here.
Okay. So that was one of my episodes also.
That's the one that I could almost guarantee would be.
So in one of this, though, a couple of trivia points of this.
Uh-huh.
They actually filmed it twice. They did 2 filmings of it
for East Coast and West Coast.
And West Coast, right. And West Coast is what's seen when you order or get the DVD collection.
Yes.
West Coast is.
But we actually got to see the East Coast version when we saw it live.
Yeah. And so they also, that the only scripted audience reaction from that episode was one of the writers of the episode was an audience. And he was the one who heckles Arnie Vinnick and calls him a liar. That's the only thing that is scripted for the audience. Everything else is natural reaction. And they did that to make it seem more authentic to the debate itself. Like these guys, a lot of ad-libbing happened in this episode as their characters, which goes to show you all of the character development and character study they did to really become someone in an hour-long debate, you know?
Absolutely. Because that's, you know, think about that. You know, you're used to recording an episode with, you know, multiple takes and stopping and starting and not necessarily having to stay in character the entire time. But here you are, like, you know, and especially, you know, if you were a television actor not as comfortable working on stage in live theater, that would have been a big challenge.
So that was mine also. So I don't really have anything to say because it's already been said.
Okay.
So that's 2. I'll give you my other one. So I've already gone through 2. But I could probably find another one on the fly.
Okay.
So my third one, because the debate was my second one, is the season finale of season 2.
Okay.
2 Cathedrals.
Yes.
So in this episode, President Bartlett, his secretary, his personal secretary, I guess. President's secretary has just been killed in a car accident at the very end of the previous episode. So you're left with just she's died and she was killed in a car accident. And so in this episode, you see their history that started when he was in college and she was working for his dad.
Yes.
Okay. And so you get to see a lot of her relationship with him developed over time and how it is so strong as 2 older people, what you see in the original episodes. But I think the strongest part of that is when he actually goes to the funeral. So they have her funeral in the National Cathedral. And so when he gives his speech, when he goes into Latin and is talking directly to God, you know what I'm saying? And so in this episode, a lot of this episode also, it kind of center points where he had hidden his MS diagnosis from the American people. And so that had come out. So he was kind of looking at bad press because he lied to the American people that he didn't lie. He just didn't disclose it.
Right.
So it wasn't a lie. And so a lot of bad press from that. And kind of you see the season kind of wrap up on an end note, like a downward note, you know?
Yeah.
And so in that.
Well, doesn't it ultimately end with him going out and saying to the press, because he gets isn't that where he gets the question?
Yeah, but he doesn't answer the question. Remember that he always said, or she said, that he would always put his hands in his pockets to make a decision. That's how you knew he made up his mind, when he put his hands in his pockets. And looked, and that's how they ended the episode. Because remember, it was raining and it was thunderstormy.
Yeah. Well, because the one of the most impactful
tropical storms coming in.
Yeah, one of the most impactful things for me, I remember in that episode, was when he comes back in and he's soaking wet and he's in the Oval Office, and I don't remember if the door flies open or something. And he shouts for Mrs. Landingham, who's dead.
But so I'm going to go ahead and in this episode, like when I tell you, and so Sorkin was known for that. The talk and walk, I guess, is what that
walk
was
and
called.
Talk, yeah.
And so for me in this one, and there are multiple shots on this one, but they actually were able to get the National Cathedral as a filming. This was not the set. They went into the cathedral. And so it's very long, and they have these really wide shots, I guess, of him standing back at the cathedral and then walking forward towards the altar. And the whole time he is given a monologue there and then breaks into Latin. You see, I found out what he says. So the president's triad in Latin at the end loosely translates to, "Thank you, Lord. Am I to believe these things from a righteous God, a just God, a wise God? To hell with your punishment. I was your servant, your messenger on the earth. I did my duty. To hell with your punishments, and to hell with you." So that because he, in that point, had made up his mind that he wasn't going to run again.
Yeah.
Because the death of his secretary was just emotionally too much for him. And he was just like, you know what? I'm a good Catholic. I do your bidding on earth, but to hell with you, basically.
Right.
You know, and that really was, to me, that was a son talking to his father.
Yeah.
And a lot of that also has to do with the relationship between his dad as well.
Right.
Like you pick up a lot of that.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the episode, before he leaves the cathedral, he basically lights up a cigarette in the middle of the cathedral, takes one puff on it, throws it on the cathedral ground, and then smushes it into the ground.
Yeah.
And then says, you can have the other guy, the vice president who was running, you can have him, meaning I'm not going to run. And so for me, that was really powerful as far as that relationship between father and son.
Yeah.
But speaking of him walking through that monologue, first in English and then in Latin.
Yeah.
And going right into it. I mean, that's, like, that's a lot.
Oh, yeah.
It was just beautifully done.
Yeah.
Beautifully done. And I will say that they have rated that as one of the best episodes of the series.
Yeah.
So that is one of mine. Again, Two Cathedrals, episode 22 in season 2, the very end of season 2.
Yeah. All right. So the next one, the number 2 on my list, is from season 4. It was a 2-part episode. So it was the first 2 of season 4, and that was titled 20 Hours in America.
Mm-hmm.
And one of so the premise of the episode is that 3 of the White House staffers who are on the campaign trail with the president have gotten lost from their caravan of
the motorcade.
Yeah,
basically.
From the motorcade.
Yeah.
And so essentially they have to find their way back to catch up with the rest of the campaign trail.
Aren't they in like Ohio or something? But they're in the Midwest.
I think it's somewhere in the Midwest.
Farmer,
right?
Farmland.
But the thing that I really enjoyed about that episode, it's a very funny episode, for one, because you can imagine being lost in the middle of the country where you don't know where you are, and they don't realize they're going in and out of time zones because this county doesn't observe daylight savings time like the rest of them around them. And so, that causes some, humorous moments to ensue. But the thing about it that's really interesting is because a lot of the series, it's set in Washington, they're in the White House, so of course they're in Washington for the most part, but it was really an interesting chance to see them interacting with, everyday America in everyday America. And so I thought it was just a really well done episode because you get that sense of, number one, several things. Number one, what it's like to be on the campaign trail, because, you hear stories about it and how it's grueling, it's exhausting because, you get very little sleep. You're constantly on the move.
Yeah.
And it really is a test to a certain...
Oh, it goes back to what you said, loyalty to service.
Yeah.
Like they're doing all this and giving up everything, and they get paid measly for the job that they do.
Oh, yeah.
But it's for the service of the country or for the service to the president. So
yeah.
They serve the pleasure of the president. But
exactly.
That they also do all that because they believe in his vision.
Yeah.
And they believe in doing right.
Yeah. So, it emphasizes that, and, the fact that you have to do it because you believe in it and you believe in this candidate. It's not just a matter of, wanting the Republicans to win or wanting the Democrats to win. You have to believe in that guy or that woman.
Yep.
And, really to do the work, at least, of the campaign. Most of us sit back and wring our hands about, well, which of the lesser of two evils am I going to choose? But the people working on the campaigns really are at the grassroots level having to do this really grueling work. And yeah, you can't do that if you don't believe in the vision of the candidate.
Yeah.
Did you find another episode that you wanted to talk about, or you want me to go ahead and talk about my last one?
Talk about your last one first, and then I'll...
So my number 1 episode, and it doesn't fit in with the rest of the show, and it's intentional.
I know which one you're talking about. The 9/11 episode.
Yeah. So it's season 3, episode 0, technically, is how it's referred to. It was the first episode that they aired after 9/11. And it's, a lot of shows at that time didn't really know what to do. some shows embraced what had happened, and they, it happened in the world of their show and things like that. I remember Ally McBeal was one that, addressed it head on, and they talked about how people in their they had lost people in their law office in the Twin Towers and things like that. And, the West Wing, of course, being about the White House, had a very big decision to make as they started season 3. Do we live in the world in which this has happened in the show, or do we live in an alternate reality sort of in the world of the show in which, this has not taken place?
Yeah.
And so they opt for the latter choice. They opt to move forward as if 9/11 does not happen in their world, which I think was the right call also, because, you have a very definite president who's in charge at that time.
Yeah.
It's George W. Bush. You can't tell the story of 9/11 with Jed Bartlett.
Yep.
So they chose to ignore, they chose to write the script of the show without 9/11 happening, but they knew it was important enough that they needed to address what had happened.
Yep.
And so their solution was, as they say in sort of a series of opening monologues at the beginning of the show, they offer you a play. And in it, the episode is titled Isaac and Ishmael. They decide to, what we talked about already, which is to kind of educate the public. And in this case, they offer an explanation for why there is such animosity between people of the Islamic faith and Christianity. And one of the most impactful things that I think they did in that episode was the Bradley Whitford, who played Josh Lyman. They're talking to a group of school children who are touring the White House, and they're under lockdown. The White House has gone under lockdown because there's a threat, and they believe that it is a threat from a Middle Eastern terrorist.
Right.
And one of the kids asks Josh, why does all this sort of stuff happen? And they just essentially spend some time explaining it for them.
He does say that's a complicated answer to a complicated question.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so he offers them an analogy. He says, you guys are getting ready for the SAT, and they don't even have this on the SAT anymore. But he said, so about analogies. And so he says, Islam is to Islam extremists as Christianity is to blank. And do you remember what the answer was for his analogy? The Ku Klux Klan. He said, the KKK was essentially creating all these atrocities under the guise of Christianity or doing it in the name of Christianity, and obviously not speaking for the wide majority of Christians.
Right.
And so essentially it was to draw the parallel that Islamic extremists are not speaking for the vast majority of Muslim people. Yeah. So that was, I always thought that was a very, because I didn't see that in real time when it aired. I saw that after
later on
the show came out on DVD. But I always thought that was just a really classy way to handle that as well. Yeah.
Okay. So I have my episode,
okay.
And it is the series finale tomorrow.
The series finale?
Series finale tomorrow.
Yeah, I started to put that one on there too, but I was like, I know he's going to do that one too. Probably I won't do.
Yeah. So what it is Matt Santos, who is played by Jimmy Smits, has won the election.
Yeah.
It's inauguration day for him to begin his presidency. And you start seeing kind of a wrap up, I guess, of Bartlett's term as president, his 8 years in the White House. So you start seeing all of his staff, the transition, the stuff that we don't really get to see, but always fascinates me is the transition process of outgoing and ingoing. And so this one kind of shines a light on that process. They have to be out of there. The old staff has to be gone by noon.
Yeah.
They are no longer employed by the government once inauguration happens. And I think that to me, to see that the staff has to stay behind.
Yeah.
And clean offices and, get all that out while the big party or the show happens at the Capitol. So it's just a very interesting process for me to transition from one family to the next into the house, and how everything has to go off without a hitch.
Yeah.
In the hours of them leaving the White House to go to the Capitol for inauguration to the time that he returns home after inauguration.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like it's a brand new house. Like, the old president did not live there at all.
Yeah.
And we're talking about paintings and furniture and personal belongings and, food. Everything has to be redone for this new family walking in.
Yeah, well, because the White House social secretary meets with the incoming president and their family before they ever, but long before January 20th, and they give them essentially a catalog of, these are all the paintings that we have
in the National
Archives,
right? That you want to pull up furniture.
What do you want?
What desk do you want?
Yeah, what do you want in the Oval Office? What rugs do you want? All that sort of thing, which is, I'm not going to lie, from somebody who likes home renovation shows, like, I would love to see that. I would love to see that.
It's very interesting to me too. I would love to just watch the process.
Yeah.
They should do a special on that. Like, how we saw that one about the cruise ship when the cruise comes into port.
Yeah.
And they have to recycle
turn it over
for the next cruise before the new passengers get on, which is happening in like in hours. They have to basically restock this whole ship.
Yeah.
Get rid of everything that was old or used and get on the new stuff. And I think they should do a documentary on that.
I feel sure somebody has to have pitched that as an idea at some point or asked about that. So I feel like there's probably like some element of security measures that go on as well that we can't be privy to.
So one of the quotes I'll say about this episode is Debbie Fitterer, who plays
Lily Tomlin,
is the new secretary and has been since the season 3.
Yeah.
So 4 years. Basically, one of my favorite quotes by her in this one is when she's telling the new secretary, the new presidential secretary, what to do.
Yeah.
And so she puts her at her desk, and she's, the most important job is keeping track of who's going in and out of the Oval Office. The first thing you'll need to do is establish who'll have walk-in privileges. Usually it's just the first lady and the chief of staff. At some point, the president is going to ask you to take away his wife's walk-in privileges. Don't do it. No matter how much he begs. And I just think that's just humorous. Like, even in this surreal moment, there's so much humor that was written into these characters.
Yeah.
But I think that tomorrow, that was just an interesting one for me.
Yeah.
Like, you got to see what happens at the end of 8 years.
Yeah. And it's a great episode, and it's a great way of summing up the show. But like you said, it gives a sense of humanity to these characters as well, and makes it, because we do often put people like the president on a pedestal, and we sometimes forget that they're real people too. And so that was something that I always appreciated about the show, that it really captured so well, was the humanity of all the people that do all that. They say and the show even quotes this frequently too. Nobody ever wants to see how the sausage is made, in terms of all the inner workings that go on behind the scenes, the deal making and things like that to make our laws and government run. But it did that in a very effective, human way.
Yeah.
And I've heard more than once, people who work in government talking about the show or being interviewed by political pundits and things like that. But they frequently say, we often wish that the world of Washington happened more like the West Wing, but in reality, it's a lot more like Veep.
Yeah.
Which, if you've seen Veep, if
much
you haven't,
cutthroat.
You should. But it's much more outwardly cutthroat and very kind of like, the Bad News Bears, like, how are we the people running the country? Because they're so inept, and sometimes that's the case.
Don't go there. We are steering clear of real life politics.
Well, exactly. But that's the great thing about a show like The West Wing, and I love, like, really any kind of political show. Another one that you had watched entirely and then turned me on to was Madam Secretary, which I absolutely, and one of the things that I was specifically watching, because The West Wing makes no bones about the fact that it's a Democratic president. But one of the things that I really appreciated about Madam Secretary was never once do you hear them refer to what political party they are.
Yeah.
They made a point, and I was listening close throughout that series for any inclination of, is this a Democratic? I don't even think you heard the terms Democratic and Republican.
Mm-hmm.
So, in the world of Madam Secretary, maybe it was two other completely different political parties, but they made a point to make it politically neutral.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a wise move. But yeah, if you're into stuff like this, if you haven't watched The West Wing, definitely watch it. It's just great TV. If you are a fan of The West Wing, I highly recommend you check out the book What's Next by Melissa Fitzgerald and Mary McCormick. And if you want to read just a really good book that just talks about our government and how it works, there's another one called Democracy in One Book or Less by David Litt, who was a speech writer for President Obama. He was the one who was responsible for the White House Correspondents' Dinner speeches that were always very humorous. So it's a very, very funny book, but incredibly informative at the same time.
I didn't know we were plugging books. I would have brought mine that I was reading.
I know. I don't know why. I just kind of did, but
I can find it real fast though.
Yeah. Well, just give us the title and author.
Okay, so it's Return to Common Sense: How to Fix America Before We Really Blow It by Leah McGowan. She's a political YouTuber.
Yeah.
She is the creator of Politics Girl on Instagram, on YouTube, on TikTok. She's on all the different sites.
Yeah.
And I've been following her for a little while. She's just very, again, same thing. Explain stuff in terms that people who are not political savvy can understand.
Right.
Which is what kind of drew me to her.
Yeah.
I guess. But I'm more than halfway through this book in about a week.
Yeah, that's like me with Democracy in One Book or Less.
And this one, I'll tell you, is really, it's almost like a history lesson going through it and listening to it, because you learn a lot about the development of the Constitution, Bill of Rights, all that stuff, and how we shaped what we are, what was set up originally to what we are now, and when all those changes happen. So it's a really good book so far. Very easy read.
Awesome.
Okay, so we want to go into trivia now.
Yeah.
Obviously, our theme is going to be West Wing trivia.
Yeah.
Okay, go.
All right. I'm not doing all of the questions here because some are just stupid easy. In the show, which serious illness does Josiah Bartlett suffer from?
MS.
Yes.
Okay. In the episode 20 Hours in America, Toby lost a bet to Josh and had to do what for 24 hours?
Oh.
I'll give you multiple choice answers. Ready?
Okay.
First one, not complain or argue.
Yeah.
The second one, not mention the fact he worked at the White House to anyone. And the third one, greet every new person by telling them he worked at the White House.
Greet every new person by telling them he worked at the White House.
That's it.
Yeah. My name's Toby Ziegler. I work at the White House.
Okay.
So funny. All right. Number 2. Who succeeds Josiah as the president in the series?
That's Matt Santos.
Yeah. I told you these are all too easy.
Before he was the campaign manager and White House chief of staff, what position in the government did Leo McGarry hold? Secretary of the Interior, Secretary of Defense, or Secretary of Labor?
God, I don't remember. Secretary of Defense.
Nope. I would think that too, but he wasn't. Secretary of Labor.
Labor.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, this is a good one. You will probably still know it. But what was the code name? What was the Secret Service code name for Sam Seaborn in the show? Need multiple choice?
Yeah.
Okay. Eagle, Tiger, Princeton, or Bookbag?
Probably Princeton.
Yeah.
Bookbag was one of the kids.
Yes, that was Zoe.
Yeah,
I think.
What was C.J. Craig's Secret Service name?
Flamingo.
Yes. Okay. Rob Lowe's character, Sam Seaborn, attended what prestigious U.S. college and references repeatedly throughout the show?
Princeton.
Yes.
So many. What was Abby Bartlett's profession?
She's a doctor.
Physician. Yeah.
Which of these actors did not play Donna Moss's boyfriend love interest during the series? Christian Slater, Bradley Cooper, Jason Isaacs.
Which one did not play
did
her
not
love
play one
interest?
of her love interest or a boyfriend?
Zoe?
Donna Moss.
Oh, sorry. Okay. I was like, what in the world? Okay. Christian Slater did. Who else? Who were the other two?
Bradley Cooper or Jason Isaacs?
Bradley Cooper.
It is Bradley Cooper.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jason Isaacs was the one that she followed to.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the Middle East.
Yeah, and Christian Slater was the one that
worked for the DoD. Who played the role of Toby Ziegler in the show?
I don't remember his name.
Jimmy Smits, Joshua Molina, Richard Schiff.
Richard Schiff.
Yes.
Okay. Who replaced John Hoynes as vice president? Admiral Fitzwallace, Louis Berryhill.
No, Buffalo Bob.
Bob Russell.
Yeah, Bob Russell.
Yeah. What role did C.J. Craig finish out in the series working at the White House?
Oh, chief of staff.
She was chief of staff, yes.
Ooh, what were the last words spoken in the series?
Is there multiple choice? I know they're on the plane going home.
Mm-mm.
Oh, no, that's Sam when he returns. Welcome home or something like that. He returns back to the White House. Okay, then I don't know then.
What's next?
Oh, Santos when he sits in the office. That's what
Yeah.
What type of animal did Debbie Fitterer try to farm before she took her role as private secretary to the president?
I want to say chinchillas.
She did not. It was the alpaca farm.
Oh, yeah. Alpaca.
That's the last one I have.
Okay. All right. Well, that does it for this week's episode of From Art to Atoms.
The Ultimate Curiosity Show. We hope that we have inspired you
to get politically active
and start paying attention to the politics of the world, politics of the United States. Yeah, your vote counts. Even if you don't think it does, it does.
Absolutely.
So
thanks for listening. Have a great week, everybody.
Bye, everybody. You've been listening to From Art to Atoms, the Ultimate Curiosity Show, episode number 10. Your hosts are Brandon Shoemaker and myself, Michael Folse. The show is produced by Brandon Shoemaker and is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the show to stay up to date on all of our latest episodes and news. If you have any questions, feedback, or suggested topics you'd like for us to dive into, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can email us at FromArtToAtoms@gmail.com. We would love to hear from our listeners and we value your input. Don't forget to follow us on social media to stay updated on upcoming episodes and behind-the-scenes content. You can follow us on Instagram and YouTube at From Art to Atoms. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to rate and review us on your favorite podcast platforms. Your support helps us reach even more interested minds like yours. Thanks for tuning in and stay curious, everyone.